I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Graham Noble, Sarah Cowgill, Tim Donner, and Joe Schaefer. And this is Liberty Nation's online TV news program. The Loony leftist clips contest. So many outrageous things being said on the left. So little time. Who will get the coveted C5 prize? Details on that later. But first, let's see what fun is in store for us. You know those clips where we're not sure whether we want to laugh or cry? Graham, I know you spent all day working on yours.
Well, Lisa, by way of brief introduction of mine, all I'll say that this is MSNBC once again playing the Trump-Hitler analogy.
This, to me, looked like a rally from the early 30s comparing to Hitler. And, you know, that's something you cautiously do because we can use the word fascist, but then when you go Hitler, you can't, everybody starts to go. Basically, you had a destruction of the belief in the free press. You have creating an other, whether it's Muslims, whether it's Mexicans, and then you have the destruction of free elections. What is the difference between Adolf Hitler and Donald Trump? I'm not saying there's a Holocaust, but...
So, you know, first of all, with that, I hate that just terrible ending. Oh, I'm not saying there's a Holocaust. That was just so awful. Because, of course, we must remember this. I like to turn, when we get these Hitler analogies, you know, Trump is Hitler, you know, so-and-so is Hitler, whatever. I like to turn it on its head. And I like to remind people that if you are comparing Donald Trump to Hitler, then you are literally saying that nothing Hitler did was any worse than what Donald Trump has done. So, and to me, that's a pretty awful thing to think. But anyway, got a couple of points about this particular clip. First of all, I really dislike it when people, in their attempts to sound worldly and sophisticated and educated,
Erudite,
if you like, erudite as well, that they mispronounce very simple to pronounce words. And here's what I'm getting at here. Hitler was Austrian, and another famous Austrian who wasn't anywhere near as bad as Hitler was Arnold Schwarzenegger. And did Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator character in his famous movie, did he say, "I'll be back"? No, he didn't. He said, "I'll be back." And that's because in the German language, or as Barack Obama might have said, in the Austrian language, they pronounce their A's, and I'm actually a German speaker, by the way, they pronounce their A's kind of with a long A. And now Hitler may have been a lot of things. You know, he was a sociopath with possibly multiple personality disorders. He was a mass murderer. There's nothing nice you can say about Hitler, but for all the things he was, what he wasn't was an Adolf. He wasn't an Adolf. There's no such person in history as Adolf Hitler. It's Adolf Hitler. And if you're going to pronounce his name Adolf Hitler, then you're just showing that you're completely ignorant, in fact, of history. So the man may have been a monster, but at least let's pronounce his name right. Anyway, but the second point here is what are they comparing to a Nazi party rally? We see a shot of a bunch of people all standing close to each other, looking in the same direction. So that's a Nazi party rally, is it? Well, how about the audience at any sporting event, in any sporting arena, whether it's basketball, football, any other sporting event, you've got a bunch of people all standing close together, looking in the same direction. So does that remind you of a Nazi party rally? How about another example of people standing all looking in the same direction, an inner city bus stop at 8 o'clock in the morning? Does that remind you of a Nazi party rally? I would also say perhaps we could compare a Joe Biden campaign rally to a Nazi party rally. But of course, he doesn't have enough people standing there looking in the same direction. In fact, he has less people than at the bus stop, in the inner city bus stop at 8 o'clock in the morning. But, you know, this particular analogy with this group of people standing there, you know, presumably listening to Trump speak, in what universe does that resemble a Nazi party rally?
Let me just say that I think there is actually a campaign going on in the leftist media to make some sort of resemblance between Trump and Adolf Hitler. I woke up the other day and there was a breaking news thing on there, and they had a picture of Trump coming out of Walter Reed, and he had his hand up in a funny way. You know, he was either saluting or coming down from the salute. But the way they had him was kind of like this. And it was on BuzzFeed. And I said, what does that look like to you? And he said, it looks like a Nazi salute. So
which proves that he's a Nazi.
Right.
Slam dunk.
I think there's some kind of campaign going on. I really do.
Well, they had him being Mussolini because he was standing on a balcony.
Right.
Got back to the White House. So he's Trump Mussolini. What's
delicious about that clip is the end part where he goes, well, there's no Holocaust, but, and so that when you have an incomplete sentence like that, you sort of like to speculate on how he would have ended it. And I think Donnie Deutsch, who hates Trump with a passion I have rarely seen. He was a competitor of his in New York business for years. I think what he meant was there's no Holocaust, but Trump would really like one. I think that's really, if he completed the sentence, that's what he would have said, that Trump is so despicable and so evil that if he had his way, if there was some way in a constitutional republic that he could create a Holocaust, he would do it.
All right, next up, Joe.
Well, my clip is that noted voice of reason in the dominant big box media, Don Lemon, or is it Lemon? I'm not even going to try to pronounce
it.
Let the clip itself. He's just being the voice of sanity once again.
We're going to have to blow up the entire system. You're going to have to get rid of the Electoral College because the people...
I don't see it.
Because the minority in this country decides who the judges are and they decide who the president is.
But you need a constitutional amendment to do that.
And if Joe Biden wins, Democrats can sack the courts.
I mean, when Chris Cuomo is trying to talk you down from the ledge, you know you've got problems. This wasn't Don Lemon being seditious. This was Don Lemon being a diva hysteric, you know, which is what his trade and craft is. So, you know, this is what he does. There's no seriousness to it. There's no substance. How does CNN go on with this? I mean, whatever shreds of journalistic integrity you have left, you're just burning down. And why don't they understand this doesn't hurt Donald Trump? You know, destroying your own professional reputation really doesn't hurt this guy.
The remarkable thing about Don Lemon, in addition to the fact that he's the most appropriately named man on television, is that you'd think with this guy who is completely off the edge, that he'd sort of be crying into the darkness to CNN's ever diminishing audience. But in fact, it was he who was like the first voice from the left, 3-4 weeks ago, who said, you know, there's some trouble with all this violence in these cities. The Democrats, Joe Biden's going to have to deal with that. It was 2 days later, or 3 days, something like that, that Biden rushed to Pittsburgh to appear in an empty warehouse to say he's not against fracking and that Trump is lying when he said that he is. And then you can roll out, I rolled out on Liberty Nation Radio 8 separate sound bites of Biden promising to get rid of fracking. But he thinks, as we've discussed here, that he can just get up there and say, it's a lie to say I'm against it, when the video footage exists of him saying it over and over and over again in different places. So as hapless and pathetic as Don Lemon is on CNN, he's being listened to by the Biden campaign.
Well, let me just say this. Wasn't he the one that said they have to come out and speak out against this violence? And like 15 minutes later,
yes,
the Biden campaign, they put like this tweet out, or Biden went on, some basement camera or something. I mean, they not only listen to him, I think they really are taking their, strategical cues from him.
That's why we're calling it the media wing of the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Really quickly, has anybody noticed that NBC is becoming CNN? I mean,
yes.
biased. NBC's gone crazy now. They've got a whole or CNN crazy. I think that's some kind of development there.
I said it's almost like it's a virus.
Yeah. Okay. Who's got one more? Who's got a funny clip?
I do.
Speak now, Mr. Tim.
Okay, well, let me just set this up a little. It doesn't need a lot of setup, but it's very useful because it rolls a number of important things into one humorous, hysterical, really, clip. And it's from 1988 with our favorite Johnny Carson on The Tonight Show talking about Joe Biden running for president in 1988. And by the way, that was already 15 years into his career in 1988, the height of Johnny Carson. And he made light of a problem which led to Biden having to leave the campaign suddenly.
On the political scene, one of the Democratic candidates is Senator Joseph Biden. Have you seen the problem he's been having? He went around and made a speech. And apparently, he quoted I think it was a British politician, took his speech and kind of paraphrased it as his own. And then the press got on him. And then he was charged also with taking part of Bobby Kennedy's speeches. And Biden says, not to worry. He reassured his staff. He said, we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
I mean, quote, that's just quintessential Johnny Carson. But, here's one of the things. Until Mike Pence brought it up with a broadside at the very start of the presidential debate or vice presidential debate, after Kamala Harris said that Trump's treatment of the COVID pandemic was the biggest crime in American history. But Pence brought up the plagiarism idea, which Johnny Carson made light of there. And that's another one of those things from Biden's past that nobody wants to bring up. I mean, it cost him, a chance to win the presidential nomination for the Democratic Party in 1988. Of course, he bombed again in 2008, dropped out after one contest. But it brings to mind both the fact of how long Joe Biden's been around, what a joke he was from the time he ran for president, and how this guy who's kind of a laugh line now suddenly is supposedly, according to the polls, on the precipice of becoming the leader of the free world. Think about that.
Well, here's the thing about that. I mean, you have to drill down on Google several pages before you can. I mean, even if you do a search, Biden plagiarism, it's like they're burying it.
Absolutely.
And a lot of these people weren't alive in 88. So, they don't remember.
Watching that clip, I just feel bad for all of us when you realize that you had a real pro like Johnny Carson on TV back then, and the absolute clowns that we're stuck with now. These stereotypes, I don't even have a TV anymore, and I don't miss it at all. So, all those names, Jimmy Kimmel, all these fools, and they take their shots at Trump, and there's no guile. There's nothing intelligent about it. That was a pretty intelligent joke by Johnny Carson. He didn't dumb it down for his audience. It was good, and it was historically based. And, TV used to be actually pretty good once upon a time.
We should probably make clear, in case you didn't, for those who don't know, that we have nothing to fear, but fear itself was one of the most famous things that Franklin Delano Roosevelt said in trying to sort of lift the country out of depression. So it was, at least back then, a very familiar with a lot of people, not as familiar now, but that's sort of just to bring that to completion.
Graham?
Well, I was just going to say that, something that speaks to both maybe this is unfair of me, maybe this is judgmental, but I have a feeling I'm along the right, I'm going in the right direction. Speaking to possibly the ignorance of an audience of perhaps Jimmy Kimmel's show, and also speaking to what you alluded to, Lisa, about people just not being aware of Joe Biden's plagiarism scandal because it's now buried so deep. All I was going to say, Joe, is that, you mentioned Jimmy Kimmel. If he had told that same joke on his show, there would have been a deathly silence. They would have needed canned laughter because they would have got none from the audience, because not only would the audience have not even understood what he was talking about with Joe Biden's plagiarism, but they wouldn't even understand the funny, the joke of him saying, then we have nothing to fear but fear itself, because they wouldn't even know where that comes from either.
My clip is relatively short, and I will be short on the introduction. This woman has just recently come off of a really snarky vice presidential debate with the current vice president, and he slapped her around just enough, but this might be a relevant clip today.
How do you go from being such a passionate opponent on such bedrock principles for you, and now you guys seem to be pals?
It was a debate.
Not everybody landed punches like you did, though.
It was a debate.
So you don't mean it?
It was a debate. That the whole reason, literally, it was a debate.
It was a debate, giggle, giggle, hyena style. So basically, what she got called on right there was the fact that she called her now number one on the ticket a racist. and then cited the reasons why he was a racist. But it was a debate, so therefore, we don't care anymore.
I've never seen.
How is this even possible?
I've never seen a clip that is more penetrating about somebody's personality than that one. Because if you listen to that, all you say to yourself is, why should I believe anything that she says in public? If everything's simply packaged for a debate, and then she doubled, tripled, and quadrupled down on something that makes her look like just a manipulative climber who's interested in nothing but power and will say anything to get it, which is pretty much what she is.
What really got me about that clip, I have to say, is the laugh and the obvious, really unconcealed joy in her voice and in her eyes that, are these fools taking me seriously when I say things like this? No, of course, it was a debate. I was, obviously I wasn't being honest. Only idiots would think I was being honest at that point. And it's that condescending laugh of hers. And she did the same thing way back when, after being responsible for locking up, thousands and thousands of black men for, nothing more than the possession of a relatively small amounts of marijuana, and then she was once asked whether or not she partakes, and she laughed. She did exactly the same laugh. It's that laugh that says, "Oh, you idiots that I'm taking advantage of you like this." And it's just such an appalling thing. The laugh itself, to me, is enough to sink, or should be enough to just completely sink Biden's campaign. Is just her, that awful laugh of hers.
She makes Hillary Clinton look sincere.
All right, my clip comes from 5 months ago. Dust it off. The real racist in this race, in my humble opinion, is Joe Biden. And this is just one more instance of that. Let's roll the video, Frank.
You see, geez, the reason I was able to stay sequestered in my home is because some black woman was able to stack the grocery shelf.
This clip, I believe, was buried by the leftist media. Then it was removed from YouTube. Talk about American Pravda. We have a propaganda campaign going on in this country.
I just don't know how, after all the things that he's said over the years, culminating with if you don't vote for me, you ain't black. I just really wonder how many black people are enthusiastic about voting for Joe Biden. I'm not going to make some grand prediction that Trump's going to get 20% of the black vote or anything. He'll get more of it, all among men, not among women. Women of color, are completely turned off to him. But I don't know how the trickle of comments that he's made that sort of reveal what he thinks inside.
Apologize for what?
inside himself about black people makes you really wonder what kind of black person would be enthusiastic about voting for this guy unless they fully believe what they've been bombarded with by the elite media over these last 4 years, which is that Trump is an unconstrained, undiluted racist and white supremacist. And, you can't discount that bombardment of people.
All righty. Well, that was a wild ride. No wonder everyone says the left and the right are living in alternate universes. Some really good clips today, guys. We would vote if Sarah was here, but she's not. And that's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other segments on your favorite video platform. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, surf on over to LibertyNation.com. Subscribe to our popular conservative news daily briefing. Visit our Roku channel. And now we have a Rumble page where this program can be seen along with all our other Liberty TV shows. And remember, guys, Liberty all the time and everywhere.
Election 2020 Big Bottom Flash Reports are coming. On election night, at the bottom of every hour, LibertyNation.com will give you Election Night 2020, 90 seconds at a time, with our Big Bottom Flash Reports. You'll get the drop with our one-stop shop. We'll shed the light on Fight Night. Tune into LibertyNation.com on election night for our Big Bottom Flash Reports at the bottom of every hour. 90 glorious seconds for everything you need to know without the spin.